Hey guys, welcome to today's practice. I'm Lacey. This is Isabel and Odin. And today's practice is going to be all about the neck and shoulders and upper back. This will be a really great practice to do in the morning, first thing, or even after work. If you've been sitting a lot, if you've been at a desk or at a computer, this will be really great to open everything up. Let's get started. Start off in a comfortable seated position, and once you're comfortable, close your eyes. Take a few slow, deep breaths. And as you slow your breath down, let yourself pay attention to the inner sensations, what's noticeable within your body. Let your shoulders roll back and down and just open up some space on the front side of your chest. Breathe all the way into that space and then down toward your belly so you're getting really nice full breaths. And you'll probably notice that after a few deep breaths, there's a shift in how you feel. You might feel a little more relaxed already. Keep that breath going. You can open up your eyes and then go ahead and bring your chin down to your chest. And just slowly roll your right ear toward your right shoulder. Maybe take a few seconds to roll all the way over, just so you begin to stretch out this left side of your neck. And once you get there, you can use your right hand on the top side of your head for a little added pressure, but just be really gentle with these smaller neck muscles. As you're feeling the stretch, you can take your left arm out to the left, bend your wrist so your palm faces away from you. And you're basically stretching your left ear away from your left hand. So this whole left side starts to feel sensation. Let's linger here for a few breaths. Release that. Roll slowly back through center and repeat on the other side. Take your time to roll your left ear toward your left shoulder. And then you might use your left hand on top for a little added pressure. From there, you can take your right arm to the right, bend your wrist and push your palm away and increase that distance between your ear and your fingertips. And you can also breathe into this stretch. Release that stretch and roll back to center. Bring your head up normally. And just hook your fingers very lightly around your ears. So this will enable you to bring your elbows toward each other. That's going to open up some space between the shoulder blades. And then as you inhale, open the elbows apart, squeeze your shoulder blades together. And then exhale, bring the elbows together. Inhale, open. Exhale, elbows in. Okay, just keep going with your breath. You're creating some movement in the shoulder blades, across the front of the shoulder, across your chest. And it should feel pretty good moving into this range of motion. So you're not pushing past anything that feels kind of like that end range. You're just going to a comfortable amount of movement. Let's do 2 more rounds. And then release your arms, give your shoulders a little roll. Interlace your fingers together and flip your palms to face the ceiling and stretch your palms up toward the ceiling. And then if you want to move around, you can go a little bit side to side, just exploring the stretch into your shoulders and into your back muscles and into your sides. Come back to center and release your arms down. From here, wrap your right arm underneath your left, just like you would for eagle pose. You can either wind your palms around together, or you can reach your hands around toward your shoulder blades and create some separation between the shoulder blades. You might play around with bringing the elbows lower or bringing the elbows up and just see where along that pathway you feel a nice comfortable amount of sensation. We'll just hold that stretch for a few breaths. And then release and set that up on the other side. Wrap your left arm under your right. Find the appropriate amount of sensation. Just linger there for a few breaths. And then release your arms. And again, just give your shoulders a little roll. Let's make our way over onto hands and knees. Once on your hands and knees, begin to move into cat and cow, alternating between your cat pose, where you're rounding out your back into flexion and you're stretching the back muscles, and your cow pose, where you're arching your back into extension and stretching out your front muscles. And you can go really slowly, maybe holding each variation for a few breaths, or maybe you move through more dynamically with your breath. And the breath is going to start to form a really nice rhythm and almost a point of focus that you can rely on. And if you're practicing at home, which most of us are, there's definitely going to be distractions that come up and things that pull you out of that zone of focus. So it's really nice to have something to concentrate on while you're moving. And if you've got little fur loved ones that like to get involved in the practice, you know that can be really sweet, but can also be a distraction. So you're coming back to your breath and your point of focus as often as possible. Come back to a neutral position and open your knees a little wider, setting up for child's pose. Now, as you send your hips back into child's pose, walk your hands over to the right. Interlace your left hand on top of your right hand. And then when you start to bring your forehead and your chest downward, you can lean into your left side a bit more. So you're creating that stretch in the left side. You're breathing a bit more into your left ribs. You might be able to feel your latissimus muscle on your back. And we'll just linger here for a few breaths. Okay, let's bring that through center and then take your hands over to the left and interlace your right hand on top. And then the same thing, you can let your chest and your forehead come downward and begin to lean into the stretch on your right side and really breathe into that right side. Bring yourself back through center. Come back to hands and knees, and then move into downward facing dog. Tuck your toes under, send your hips up and back. As you go into downward dog, it might feel really good to add some movement. You can slowly walk out your heels one at a time, or even just adjust and play around with the alignment of the pose until you start to feel really settled and comfortable. From downward dog, lower your knees so you come back to all fours. And on all fours, rotate your fingers around externally. So you're turning them outward and around, and your fingers might point back toward you or out toward the sides, just depending on your wrists and how this feels. Come into a comfortable amount of sensation without force. And if you want, you can lean your body weight slightly further back to increase the sensation in your forearms. And just linger in that stretch for a few breaths. Okay, and then turn your hands back around and rotate in the other direction. Turn internally so the fingers point either back toward you or toward each other. And the same thing, you can lean a little bit back if you want. And then turn your hands back around to neutral. Walk your knees a little further back so you've got some room to lay down onto your belly. And as you come down to your belly, slide your forearms far enough ahead that you can prop yourself up onto forearms. As you do that, tone your lower belly in. Engage your back and your glute muscles so that your spine is supported. So don't feel like you're sinking into your lower back. There's a lot of stability there. And then you're just slowly curling the chest upward and forward to create some opening for the upper spine. And then lower your chest and slide your hands back so your hands are underneath your shoulders. You can move your thumbs next to the ribs. And we're going to come up in the same way, this time using more of the back strength. So curl your chest up. Squeeze your elbows inward and squeeze all the way into your glutes. And the strength of your back muscles is going to be supporting you here as you come up into cobra pose. And your breath is going to feel a bit more compressed because your belly is pressing into the floor, but just breathe as deeply as you can. And lift your toes away from the ground as well. Wake up some extra strength in the back side of the legs. And then just go ahead and release your chest down. Press yourself through to hands and knees. Come to a nice neutral spine in a table position. From neutral, stretch your right leg straight back behind you. Hold there for a breath or two. And then curl your right knee forward and step your right foot in between your hands so you arrive in a kneeling lunge. Bring your torso up, walk your hands onto your front thigh until you're upright. And rather than pressing forward from your ribs or your abdomen, start to press forward from your hips, keeping the rest of your spine nice and upright. And you should be able to feel into that hip flexor on the left side, so maybe a little stretch on the front of the hip, the thigh. To add more to that stretch, send your left arm up, lengthen tall, and do a side bend toward the right, staying long through this left side and breathing into the left side. As you come back to center, let your left fingertips come down, and you can either plant your left hand on the mat or you can grab a block for under your hand. Tuck your back toes under and raise your back knee off of the floor. And just stay planted through your right foot, your left hand, and of course your back left foot. Turn your chest toward the right. Open your right arm toward the ceiling and stretch up nice and tall through your fingertips. Keeping planted through both feet especially, and maintain stability with your left fingertips. Untwist and bring your right hand down. Adjust your back foot for warrior two. Turn your left toes out toward the left and press down as you bring your torso up, open toward the left, and send your arms out parallel with the ground. Now you might need to shuffle the feet a little bit until you can feel really planted. Press down into the feet and reach out with your arms. For the next few breaths, turn your palms to face toward the ceiling. Now, as you straighten your front leg, reach your arms up overhead and turn your right toes in. So now you're facing toward the left side, toward the long edge of your mat. Turn both feet out slightly and rotate your knees outward as well. And you'll bend your knees and your elbows to go into goddess pose. Keep pressing the knees outward and hug your shoulder blades together on your back so there's more opening across the front side. Push down into the floor, sink the hips down a little more, and really challenge that ability to stay focused while you feel sensation. Let's breathe here. Go ahead and straighten your legs, relax your arms down, and turn your feet parallel to each other. Bring your hands onto hips, and then fold forward gradually. Take your hands to the floor, soften your knees a bit more, and relax through your neck and shoulders. As you inhale, come up onto your fingertips to lengthen and turn toward the top end of your mat. Walk your fingertips around and just let your feet pivot toward the top as well. Step back into downward facing dog and just take a few breaths here. Lower down onto hands and knees. And from a neutral position, stretch your left leg straight back behind you and just hold there for a breath or two. Bending your left knee, curl it forward and step between your hands. Walk your hands up and onto your front thigh and bring your torso up into a nice upright position. Then start to press forward with your hips into the lunge. Adding a little more to that right side, raise your right arm up, lengthen up, and side bend over to the right. Breathe into your right side. And bring yourself back up to center and lower your right fingertips either to your mat or onto a prop. Tuck your back toes and raise your back knee, solidifying the stance. Then turn your chest toward the left, and as you twist, open your left arm toward the ceiling. Draw your shoulder blades onto your back. And create that same stability through the legs as you rotate into the twists. From the twist exhale, reach your left hand down, set your back foot up for warrior two. And once your feet are grounded, bring yourself on up into warrior two, adjusting the stance as necessary. Press firmly down into the floor and reach out through your fingertips. For the next few breaths, turn your palms to face upward. Go ahead and straighten your leg and turn your left toes in to face that right edge of your mat. Reach your arms up overhead. Turn the feet out slightly and bend your elbows and knees into goddess pose. Keep a neutral spine, so you do want to feel your core engaged, your shoulder blades drawn in, and your tailbone lengthening down. And then just hold in that sensation. Go ahead and straighten the legs, release your arms, turn your feet back to parallel, and take your hands interlaced together behind you. Roll your shoulders back and fold forward gradually. You can allow your knuckles to gently stretch away from you, and you could keep the knees nice and soft. Release your fingertips to the floor and lengthen. Turn toward the top of your mat and walk your hands around to the top, and then step back into downward facing dog. From downward dog, lower your knees to the mat and then lower yourself all the way down onto your belly. Once on your belly, make enough room so you can place your right arm out to the right on the floor. Bend that right arm at about a 90-degree angle. And so you're going to place that cactus arm on the floor and then place your right cheek on the mat. Now this will enable you to start to stretch into the front side of this right arm, specifically your chest muscles. So you might need to adjust the arm a little straighter or a little more bent depending on your shoulder. To add sensation, you can roll gently onto your right hip a little bit at a time. This will essentially create a bit of a twist, and that twist will help to get you a bit more sensation in that front shoulder, but you do want to be mindful that you're not overstretching or feeling any strain or pain. Once you've got this all set up and you feel pretty comfy, go ahead and just practice your focus and your deep breathing. Gently roll back onto your belly and slide your right arm in. Let that right arm relax and set up your left arm. Now, if when you pulled that right arm in, it felt a little tense or there was a bit of pain or discomfort, you may have gone a little too far into the stretch. And because we're holding this a bit longer, you do want to be mindful of keeping that stretch to minimal to moderate sensation. So keep that in mind as you're setting up your left arm. Turn your left cheek over onto the mat. And then if you want more sensation, you can roll onto your left hip a little bit at a time. Slowly roll yourself back to center and bring your left arm in. And then just gently press yourself to all fours. Come through to a seated position, swinging your legs around in front of you. Place the soles of your feet together and open your knees out to the sides, sliding your heels slightly forward so you keep some space between your feet and your body, and this will help relax the knees a little bit more. Fold forward gently, reaching your hands out onto your feet or legs, or you can even reach your arms forward. Relax through your neck and shoulders, and really breathe into your back muscles. Come up slowly from the stretch. Bring your knees up and lie all the way down on your back. With your knees bent and your feet on the floor, wrap your right leg over your left leg nice and tightly. Lift and shift your hips a little bit over to the right, and then twist your knees over to the left-hand side. Now you can also do this with your legs uncrossed and stacked if that feels better. Open your right arm toward the right and gently rotate your right shoulder blade toward the floor. Slowly rotate your twist back to center. Unwind your legs and switch to the other side, wrapping your left leg over your right. Lift and shift your hips a little to the left and take your knees over to the right-hand side. And you can open your left arm out to the left. Slowly bring your twist back to center, unwinding your legs. And stretch yourself all the way out into a comfortable position for Shavasana. We'll take a short rest here, and I will bring your attention back in a little bit. Gradually begin to bring some movement back. And eventually take a really nice full stretch, reaching your arms overhead. Bend into both legs, placing your feet onto the floor, and just let yourself roll onto one side from there. When you're ready, bring yourself all the way up to seated. And as you come to seated, bring your palms together in front of you, just taking a moment of gratitude for this time that you were able to get onto your mat and move your body. Thank you so much for joining me for practice today. I hope you feel really good as you go into the rest of the day, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.